My name is Jason JROCK Houston, and you're listening to Guitarist Magazine. And we can be found on the web at www.guitarist.com. And our special guest today is Sal from the band Electric Frankenstein. And welcome to the show, Sal. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
And let me ask, where is the band based at? Where's home base for you?
Well, it's usually New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey. Okay. And
yeah, we used to be New York for a while.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I was kind of looking on your Facebook page, and you got a lot of great photos. I was curious. Obviously, you're a musician and a guitar player, but Electric Frankenstein. Let's talk about the name. I'm assuming you're a bit of a horror fan as well.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the 1960s when horror magazines for kids and the artwork, all the Rat Fink artwork was everywhere.
Yeah.
That was all new when I was a kid, so it was very exciting for
let me ask you, being a bit of a horror spoof yourself, those classic Universal horror movies. I mean, the Wolfman and Dracula and Frankenstein, obviously. They just don't make horror movies like they used to. Those are like the classic. I know Universal was getting ready to start remaking a lot of it. I mean, the first one they did, I think, was The Invisible Man. Did you get a chance to see that?
No, I'm always afraid to see the remakes. Crap.
Yeah, because they could never like take the place of the original one.
I saw the Wolfman one they did, and it was kind of crummy.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get into the music. So, Electric Frankenstein. What year was the band formed?
How long?
No, I mean, what year? I want to get a little story.
When did we start it?
Yeah.
I started writing the songs in 1990.
Oh,
and
wow.
then we started putting the band together 1991. Like, we had people,
Yeah.
we did.
And who were your heroes as far as guitar players when you were growing up?
Oh, well, there's a bunch. I liked the guitar players from the two guitar players from the Alice Cooper band.
Okay, so we're talking like Michael Bruce and
Michael Bruce and Glenn Buxton.
Oh, wow.
And then I liked, of course, Johnny Thunders from the New York Dolls, right?
Yeah.
And well, then I liked people like Steve Hillage. I used to listen to more really guitar music. So I liked him, and I liked.
Well, that's kind of interesting. Now, I definitely think, listening to some of your music, I could see it appealing, obviously, to punk fans of people that are into punk rock and metal fans. But there's a definite punk element to what you did, and you kind of mentioned some of the classic punk bands. So, is that something that you were also into early on?
Well, yeah, because I was 17 when
punk was
1970s. Let's see, I was 70. I was 16 in 1976 when we started hearing about this stuff. So it was all new
at that time.
And I was there for everything when it started. That's the thing.
Now let me ask you. I don't think it's really anyone's call to say, but like a band like, say, take Green Day. They call themselves a punk band. I guess there's a punk element to what they did, but a lot of people would say, they went commercial, they sold out. What's your take on that?
Well, when we first started, we played at, I think we even played with them once when they first started, way back. And they were a little bit more punk than they are now, but the sound is different. It's not rock and roll influence. Like, in the East Coast, the punk is a lot of rock and roll influenced in it.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I always loved about, the Ramones, I mean, they're kind of one of the classic punk bands, even though there's a commercial element also to what they do. But, like, I haven't heard them talk about that you come to a Ramones show, we could do a whole set list, like, in 30 minutes because the songs are so short. But that's kind of, an interesting take on it,
Yeah, it was new to do that at the time.
Yeah.
It's not like Zeke, but the Ramones would do covers of all kinds of songs from the 50s and 60s too.
That's cool.
they were always fans of music.
So I was curious, like when you perform, do you get like dressed up in costume as well as
no, because then it becomes gimmicky.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, we never wanted to do that. We just wanted, like the Damned,
Yeah.
Like one of the bands that influenced us the most is the Damned from when we were kids, when we were teenagers, and they just had fun, and they weren't, making like a whole horror show. They could have.
Yeah.
But
I always love when those type of bands that kind of, like you mentioned Alice Cooper. One thing I love about Alice Cooper, I mean, he kind of is he's the ultimate entertainer. I mean,
very theatrical, which was great. I saw Cooper do all those old songs, and
I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan.
When you could afford to do
I see,
big shows like that is when
you do
they
it.
were from. You know what I mean? I think today you need a ton of money, like Marilyn Manson and those kind of people had investors that would pay for their shows.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, I could definitely see a guy like you being influenced by Alice because, to me, Alice is one of the all-time great entertainers. Not only does he put on the Ultimate Rock Show, he's a great songwriter, and I mean, so much to the point that all his songs pretty much tell a story, and he's so creative about it that not just coming up with these concept albums, but he says, well, like when I write a song, I think, how am I going to perform it on stage? And he really gets into the nitty-gritty and the details. And I guarantee you go to an Alice Cooper show, you're going to be entertained. You're not going to leave, disappointed. And the interesting thing about it is Alice is about 70, 75 years old, man, and the guy is still cranking out new music, and it's just as good as ever,
Yes.
And so, I mean, that's kind of a bar. And I could see you being influenced by a guy like that. Now, another thing I kind of was on your Facebook page and looking, like Electric Frankenstein, I mean, the concept itself, it seems like a kind of a little fun concept. You're combining your love for punk music and horror, and kind of tell me, like, when you form a band, is that kind of what the idea was initially?
Yeah, well, see, the term in a guitar, a Frankenstein guitar, electric Frankenstein guitar, is one that's put together from different guitar brands, and they make a hybrid guitar. So some people soup up their guitars by mixing parts from different guitars. So that's called an electric Frankenstein. And then there was the band Frankenstein that became the Dead Boys, and they did some of the same songs that Dead Boys do, like Sonic Reducer. So, and then AC/DC. Yeah. So we said, well, if you combine hard rock like AC/DC with punk rock like that Dead Boys,
see,
then I said, we could call it Electric Frankenstein.
Yeah, see, I'm a guy that typically listens to like hard rock and metal, but when I went and checked up what you guys were all about, I could get a band like this. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't call it heavy metal, but I could see metal fans getting into it or being attracted to it. And same
we have a lot of heavy metal fans. Even AC/DC, MTV played them our cover song of High Voltage, and they said it was the best version they ever heard.
Oh wow! So I wasn't. So your band even got played on MTV. That's cool.
Yeah, they had AC/DC on as guests. This is a long time ago.
Oh yeah, but see, it's interesting because I wasn't aware of a band.
I don't know if MTV exists anymore. But they had them and they played them. Well, I know that MTV uses a lot of our songs on soundtracks to their TV shows.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you an interesting thing. I don't know if you've seen this on Facebook recently, but a lot of the pages I visit, they've been having stuff about MTV, like, just turned 39 years, but actually there's only 14 years of music on the channel. I mean, just think about that for a minute,
Oh, I know. It ended
kind of sadly. I mean,
too soon, the music part. It ruined a lot of things, and that's because of they started supporting all the rap music at the exclusion of rock, and then all the parents were complaining that their kids are copying the gangster rap, and then they said, all right, then we won't have videos, which is really stupid.
Well, and then, what really killed it was, although I enjoyed watching it from time to time, that Real World show, but that became popular, and then it became reality TV. I mean, you wouldn't even know it's called MTV because that's the name of the network, but you wouldn't even know they ever played music. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew a girl that was on Real World.
Oh wow. Yeah.
She was one of our. Used to come to our shows.
Oh wow, that's cool. See, that's the other thing is your band's got a little bit of a pop culture history to it, and I think it's cool the way you've been able to keep it going. Now, let me ask you, what's currently going on with the band? 'Cause I seen on your Facebook page again that you were having some stuff released on vinyl and some new stuff in your store. But anything musically, or do you have any interest in getting in the studio?
Well, we recorded before March. We had recorded some songs to put out on split singles, and we did that. And then we were supposed to record a new album, but then the quarantine. We haven't seen each other since before March.
Wow, yeah, and that's got to be pretty hard to keep.
I have a whole album of songs ready. I'm gonna figure out how the heck am I gonna put a demo together.
Yeah, that's
remotely, and then I have reissues of stuff that or things that never came out coming out on vinyl.
Yeah, now let me ask you about that. That I seen that, and that's kind of amazing because vinyl's been making the last few years a bit of a comeback, and I think it's kind of the interesting thing. I've interviewed some guys like they're having some of their stuff released on vinyl for the first time, and they're like, it's cool to finally have my music on like a vinyl. You actually be able to hold it in my hand.
Yeah.
I don't even have a record player. What's a record player? A lot of kids might ask to play it on, but it's cool.
Kids are the ones buying the LPs.
Yeah, I've had some people tell me I don't even have a record player, but you know what? I'm just buying it for the collector's value type of thing to have one, which is a very interesting thing, to see.
Well, that's what it was back when I was a kid too.
Yeah.
People were buying import albums, because the artwork was really cool, and they were collecting them.
Yeah, were you ever much of a
deal. And all the punk singles started coming in one after the other.
Yeah.
In 1977, all the record stores had all that stuff, and everybody, the record covers were a big deal.
Yeah, I'm a bit of an old school guy myself. I mean, I miss actually going to a record store, and my favorite thing used to be to go to Tower Records. I remember when they have Sam Goody, Music Plus, and all those places, but Tower Records was like the ultimate place you could go. You could find almost anything there. They even sold imports and stuff like that too.
Right.
Yeah,
we had really cool stores out here that had a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So
not just a chain store.
So have you had a chance, throughout your career to like perform outside your local area, or what's that been like?
Oh yeah, we've been around, playing live for 30 years, and we've played in. I've been to 22 countries.
Oh wow.
We played in 21 countries, but we had to stop over in China on the way to Japan. So that means I was in 22 countries. But yeah, we just were on tour last year before the coronavirus stuff happened.
And obviously
we were in Sweden, and then we went to Spain. Not Spain. We went to France, Germany, Belgium, Holland.
Wow.
And we played a big festival in Belgium last year.
And I'm sure you enjoyed playing every one of those places, but is there a place, like a part of the world where you really enjoyed playing that was really different for you?
Oh yeah, Japan is really different from everywhere.
Yeah.
It's nothing like the United States.
I hear Japan and a lot of the European countries that they have a real love and appreciation for their bands and their rock music, much so than here in the United States, which is kind of sad.
When you play France or Germany or Italy or Spain, we play big places. It's filled with people, and everybody talks to you, and everybody's really enthusiastic. Yeah,
and I think there's an appeal for a band like Electric Frankenstein, because you guys are kind of, to me, when I listen to it, it's got like an old school kind of punk vibe, like I said. And the thing is, while you're not reinventing the wheel, there's not a lot of bands that sound like that, and it's kind of to me, it's a sound that's kind of missing. It's a shame there's not more bands like.
Well, when we started, I said, punk rock's been around a long time, and it's becoming boring, and the rock and roll at the time was really boring. Well, it wasn't rock and roll, it was just rock, hair metal stuff. I said, this is boring, and then Rancid and Green Day and all that stuff is boring. So I'm like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, let's turn it around. Instead of punk rock, let's make it rock punk.
Oh, there.
And so let's say, I said, well, now if you start a band, you're going to be influenced by metal, by rock, by punk. It's not, you're starting from, like the punk rock was caveman music, so you're starting from that as your background. So then we mixed it all together and we turned it around. That's why we don't sound like anybody else. Yeah. I mean, why does Led Zeppelin not sound like anybody else?
Yeah.
Because they took everything they liked
and they mixed it up.
and they mixed it together in something new. Yeah. And the Who doesn't sound like anybody else.
Oh, definitely. And even
everybody good.
Yeah.
You can't. Alice Cooper too, and you can't copy any band without people saying, "Hey, you're copying that band." You know what I mean? You can't steal their thing. So that shows that those kind of bands are the leaders in creating something new.
Yeah, because even like the Who, they put out a new album like a year or so ago, and it's a pretty decent sounding album, but it doesn't sound like the classic stuff. That's partly because two of the guys are dead, So I mean, that you take two of the guys out of a picture, it's going to definitely alter the sound. But I definitely I remember like when the Sex Pistols were big, probably as do you. But I remember a time too, like when like around that time when the Sex Pistols were really big, you either were a punker or you were a metalhead, and the two at the time never should meet. But that's kind of changed because, like I said, a lot of metal fans they have an appeal for the punk music, and the punk music I think there's still an audience for it because there's not as many of those punk type bands as there used to be,
Yeah. Well, it's different in the suburbs than in the cities. In the cities, you had the segregation between things, but in the suburbs, the people that had long hair, they got into punk rock because of the rock, and because it was exciting, and nobody else was doing rock and roll anymore, so they cut their hair. But the people in the suburbs liked both. Yeah. And when you get into the cities, you had the dividing lines between people. But by the 1980s, that all changed. Yeah. Everything mixed.
Now
everything got mixed. Metallica made everything get mixed together.
Yeah. It's funny because Metallica is one of those bands that if you go back at the first three albums, that's kind of the classic stuff. What people tell you that's the stuff they did with Cliff Burton. It's like the meat and potatoes of it. And then there's a point where they were all over on TV. They kind of went pop, and people were like, oh, the Black Album. They sold out, but everybody was buying it. It was a flavor of a month. It was what was popular at the time, and you gotta love them because they're still Metallica's still one of the biggest bands ever. They're still out there doing it.
It's funny. I heard a demo version of the Black Album, and it sounded like a Misfits album. It sounded like total rock, but the producers refine it all until it becomes really commercial sounding. But the original way the band plays the songs was really different, and they were really good.
And that's why you go hire a guy like Bob Rock because he can get the money. And
Bob Rock reviewed one of our songs. He thought we were really good, and he reviewed one of our songs online.
Now let me ask you. You brought up the Misfits. They're one of my favorite kind of punk type bands because I mean they had the makeup thing going, they had the look, they had the visual, they had the sound, and they combined their love, I guess, of horror and stuff into what they did. But were you at all influenced by what they were doing?
Well, they all lived near us, and we knew them since they were kids, and we went to every single show. Did you? That they did in New York and New Jersey. So I used to own a record store, and they used to come to my record store and hang out.
I got to ask you because Glenn Danzig.
Glenn used to make shirts and sell them in my store.
I don't know if you're aware, but Glenn Danzig, he recently put out.
We knew them. They used to come skateboarding around the sidewalk near my store.
And then Glenn Danzig, when he went on to form Danzig, quite a different image from the Misfits. But I guess that's part of a point when you start a solo career. But he recently put out an album of all Elvis covers, if you can even imagine that, and it's nothing like you expect from a Danzig album, but at the same time, it's a pretty cool, different type of thing to do,
Well, he liked Elvis way back when. Then, when we knew him in the beginning.
And you can't fault the guy for that, because I mean, that again is kind of staying true to your roots. If that's the case, he's kind of showing the world his love for Elvis, and he's doing it kind of in a unique way. But I enjoyed the album for what it was. You know, it's a fun little type of project for him, I guess, to do.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, and you know, you're talking a little bit about the current COVID situation. That's obviously affecting everybody from going out and playing live. I mean, I live in California, and people, the stupid governor here is like, I don't know when we're ever going to let people go to concerts again or open the movie theaters and stuff. And there's just that part of not knowing. And you even talk about, how am I going to, you know, I have all these songs I've recorded. And that's kind of a crazy thing too, is like a lot of these bands, because of the current situation, they've got like, you know, a whole album worth of material just that they're waiting to release, but they've pulled off on the releases because, well, how can we put this out when we're not able to tour behind it, you know? And it's kind of an interesting situation because, I mean, for a while, you know, people stopped buying CDs to begin with, so the only way to really, for a band like you guys to make any kind of money is either selling merchandise or, you know, doing the live show, which, you know, back in the day when you were starting out, bands didn't really tour until they had any new product out, so it's kind of reversed now, which makes it even harder for bands like you to make a living. So how's that really affected you? Because I've seen a lot of bands where they're doing these online events, like, you know, tune in Friday and we're going to be doing a live show from our backyard or our studio or something like that.
Well, every one of our shows was canceled for the whole year, so we can't do anything live, but we don't live too close to each other, so we can't really get together and, you know, video something.
Yeah, that's interesting, yeah.
We've been relying on selling merch for to keep keep people interested.
Yeah.
Making new stuff. That's why I'm making new albums. You know, we did the Dawn of Electric Frankenstein 12-inch 45. It's louder when you make it at 45.
Oh, okay.
It has like the first 6 songs we ever recorded that were never on LP.
Okay. And
then I have another album coming out real soon. It's called Razor Blade Touch, and it's all the remaining non-LP songs.
Oh, interesting.
So they're all going to be on one LP. Like it's like a new album, really.
Yeah, that's
And then
cool.
I'm going to figure out how I'm going to record. We have to get a drummer who's going to be able to, do it online.
Wow.
And we show him how the songs go, and then we got to make a demo
to
give the people to sing, and then, record company. We have a whole bunch of record companies right now.
Wow.
Big record companies, major labels, asking us for a demo of a new album.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, I mean, I imagine you're one of the bands that back in the day, you would record a lot of that early stuff, like old school way, where you would be in the same room together, same studio. And today, like you said, there's a all new way of doing it, but that's got to be kind of interesting to kind of piece everything together as everybody kind of does their parts separately.
Right, the technology's there now, thankfully.
Yeah. I mean,
and people can do it at least.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you, Sal.
Metallica is doing a drive-in theater show in California.
Yeah, I heard about that. I think that's, I really do think, until things go back to the old way, if they ever do, I really think that's going to be the new way of doing it.
Yeah, I don't see what's wrong with that. I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And why do nothing?
And
I mean, that's stupid. Yeah. And all these bands are being crybabies. I'm like, you could do a wear a mask concert, have everybody, make masks with your merch, with your logo on it, give them to everybody that comes there, have it do a drive-in show outside, and they could all, what's the difference? You're probably way more comfortable in your car anyway, and you bring your own booze, probably.
Do whatever,
Except for the driver can't drink. And so, I'm like, what's the difference? Well, I mean, really, who wants to be standing next to a bunch of sweaty, stinky people? Like
anyway,
yeah. So instead, just be in your car, or you could have sex with your girlfriend while you're watching the show.
And
and nobody's gonna bother you, and it's gonna be loud and clear, and you can see the band. And I don't know why more people aren't doing it. I'm surprised that all the little punk bands aren't using their brain.
Yeah, because I was just thinking as you were talking about all that, I was thinking, having like a performance at like a little drive-in, parking lot or something like that. that's such a punk thing to do, you know. Well,
Yeah,
you know,
they used to do stuff like that in the old punk days because they had no place to play.
yeah,
And they used to play outside all the time or on a flatbed truck.
Yeah.
They used to rent a flatbed truck, and even Alice Cooper did that. And they rented a flatbed truck and play on that with generators, and it would be no problem.
Yeah,
I mean really, everybody's being crybabies and lazy.
And
Instead of saying, how can I deal with this in a constructive way, they're like waiting for somebody else to do something. That's what the problem with people now.
Yeah.
They always think somebody else is going to come and do it. There is no somebody else. It's you or nothing. I mean, I never waited. My band got popular without any help because I never waited for somebody else. All these New York people say to me, well, somebody's got to do this and somebody's got to do that. And I'm like,
I'm going to do it.
There is no somebody. So if you don't want to be the somebody, I'll be the somebody. And then I set up the whole big network of bands in the early days of the punk rock and roll sound in New York. And we built up a whole big scene.
And you still got your little fan base there going. You said, all these years, so that plays a big part. I was curious, Sal, I'm assuming like Halloween has always been probably a big celebration for the band, or a big where you guys do a lot of shows or anything.
Yes, we always get asked to do a special show. We played one Halloween with the Dickies in New York, and we played in California. We played in Japan for Halloween. So that's what's one good thing.
And I was curious. Obviously, the name of the band, you explained that, but were you at all much of a Frankenstein the monster fan of that?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I assume.
Yeah, of course, because that's part of growing up with the Famous Monsters magazine.
Yeah, Fangoria, that was one of my all-time favorites. They're still around, and I would just anybody that's into horror, a fan of that type of stuff, that's one of the ones to definitely check out because they got a lot of cool photos and artwork in there. But I kind of think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So, being the time period that you come from, would you consider yourself more of a Monsters fan or an Addams Family fan?
I like them both. I watch them both all the time.
I'm with you. Now
there was like two different
kind of worlds. But what did you think of a recent remake of the Addams Family? It was kind of a cartoon, animated type. Did you get a chance to see that?
No, I never saw that. I mean, I saw the Addams Family movies.
Yeah, I thought. I liked the recent animated one, but I think the ones you're talking about with I forget the guy's name, but yeah, the one with Angelica Houston. Yeah, those were. I think they did a decent job of portraying the Addams Family in those. Yeah, and so I just want to thank you, Sal. I enjoyed the chance getting to know you, and I was curious, Sal, is there a album in your collection where you could kind of point to and say that's the band or that's the album that really inspired me to do what I'm doing?
Oh yeah, the Alice Cooper Greatest Hits album.
That really is a great album because even though it's a compilation of greatest hits collection, I mean those are all the songs. I mean, if anybody's never heard of Alice Cooper, you say just put that on and that'll tell you all you need to know. And I'm sure you know this, but I was recently talking to somebody about Alice Cooper's $1 Billion Babies album, and there's a song on there I'm sure you've heard of. It's on there too, Hello Hooray, and it's a great song. But what I did not know at the time was that's not an Alice Cooper original. It was originally covered by this singer Judy Collins, and you can go on YouTube and check this out. And I tell you, it sounds like a completely different song, but too. I mean, Alice really made it all his own, and I just got to say, it's amazing what that guy can do, even covering other people's music.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they didn't do too many covers. I mean,
yeah, that's true. Because I mean, why would you when you? I mean, not just Alice, but I mean, all the guys in that early band, Michael Bruce, they were all great songwriters.
Right.
I mean, I think my ultimate favorite Alice song is "Be My Lover." I mean, I love the way he kind of sings and tells a story. The singer's name was Alice. I mean, it's just one of the greatest songs ever.
We covered. There's an Alice Cooper cover on the new album coming out, and we see him all the time because he's comes to the conventions in New Jersey, so we always see him.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, so you've actually attended some of those horror conventions. That has to be a lot of fun, seeing all those.
Yeah, well, we know the guy. You know, we helped him start the horror convention 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
We knew him from before he did that stuff. But yeah, we've been to see Alice Cooper at those things a bunch of times.
Wow.
And so yeah, and he plays here in the bigger town near us. He plays all the time, so we see him there.
And have you ever heard, Sal, the band Beasto Blanco? It's got it's Alice's daughter, Calico. She's in the band, and she's actually one of the singers.
No, I haven't heard.
You gotta check them out. They're a pretty cool band. But anyway, thanks, Sal, for taking time to get to know me.
You know what I didn't mention?
What's that?
That we're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Now, how did you accomplish that? That's great.
Of course, well, we have like 3 books about us out, but we're in every rock encyclopedia now. But the Dark Horse put out a book of the first 10 years of every album cover and every show we ever did for 10 years, every poster for every show.
So let me ask you, if people wanted to check that out, would they be able to purchase it?
Yeah, Amazon sells it. You can buy the first book, and then Amazon themselves put out the second book.
Oh, wow.
They contacted me when they started a new publishing company that they were doing.
Oh, wow.
And they said, we need people influential people like you. If you do it, then a lot of other people are going to do it, and we'll give you 10 times more royalty money than Dark Horse did. And they said, we sold 6,000 copies of your book, so, you should do it with us. And I'm like, okay.
How cool is that? And I got to tell you, that's a major accomplishment for a band of your caliber. And what I mean by that, is you probably, like you said, I realize you've been around 25 years. That's
we're a do-it-yourself band. We, grew up on that punk do-it-yourself ethic.
And that's great because, there are so many bands that don't even get in. I mean, for several years, like Judas Priest has been nominated. And like this last year, they lost out to T-Rex, which is a great band in their own right, but I think Judas Priest sold a lot more records. They've been around a lot longer.
They keep putting in all these people that aren't even. Why is Whitney Houston in it?
Yeah.
How would she rock at all?
Yeah. And
it doesn't make sense. So it's just people giving them money, and that's why.
But I think for a band like you,
we were in the Rock Hall of Fame because of the art books, not for our music.
Well,
so
whatever.
It's not just your music that you get in.
But you know what? That's an interesting thing to learn because you're absolutely right. Most people think, just big bands get in. But that's an interesting thing to learn, and you're right. So oftentimes it's all about people sometimes paying money to even get nominated or whatever. So that's cool that you've worked that hard to get your little band into a rock and roll thing. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're the first band to have an art book.
Wow.
So first rock band to have an art book. I don't think there's any other ones.
that's
the Grateful Dead don't have one. The Beatles don't have one. The Rolling Stones don't have one. We're the only one. I think some bands did it after us, but we're the first. Yeah, that's why we're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's
a cool thing to say. Like I was just gonna say, that's kind of like being a trendsetter. Okay, you were the first one to do it, and others followed. But hey, good for you. Well, I'll tell you what.
We were the first band to have a website.
Wow.
Nobody had a website. There was only a few. There was less than 1,000 websites when.
And now everyone has.
You could only have a one-page. Thing.
Well, I tell you, I'm such an old school guy. One of my first things I was online with was goes all the way back to MySpace, if you even remember that. And it's funny because MySpace has kind of become an online graveyard, if you will. I went to try to find my site the other day. It's not even there.
Yeah.
It just kind of disappeared.
We're still there.
Yeah.
But it's like they ruined it. I don't know what they did.
And then Facebook
messed
took
it up
over.
So you can't hear the songs.
Yeah.
And it's like a fake money laundering thing, I heard.
Yeah, I don't know. And then Facebook it was great at one time, and Facebook kind of took over. Well, I have a friend in a band, and he was telling me Facebook's good as far as exposure, but then once your band starts making any kind of money, they want a piece of it, or they try to.
Yeah, that's right. Every time I try to post something, they want me to give them $20. They hold back. if I post something, they don't show it to everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
They only show it to some people, and you got to give them $20.
Yeah,
then they'll post it to more people. And then the more money you give them, the more money they'll post your post. So they're really bullshit.
And then the other thing I heard is, like, let's say you have a whole list of friends that are supposed to be on your site and be getting your feed. Most of the time, only people getting your feed are maybe the ones that visit the site the most, you know, and then the ones that don't.
Yeah, they're not very well done. I wish somebody would. I mean, I don't have. See, now I'm saying I wish somebody.
Well, yeah.
I don't have the millions of the billions it would take to start something new and better. If I would do something new, I would split it.
Yeah, but you know, I respect what you're doing, because the simple fact that while you may not be a multimillionaire, your band has been going as long as it has been, and you're a big part of what you're saying. You know, your work ethic, and you wouldn't even be making anything if you didn't have that work ethic. So the fact that you still got your fan base, the band's been going as long as it has, you're in the rock and roll thing. That's
we keep getting bigger every year, not smaller.
Yeah.
So it's been like the young people. There's people that say, "Oh, I used to listen to my parents' records." Now that they're in their 20s, they would tell me that they used to listen to us when they were kids because their parents.
Now they're all grown up. How cool is that?
So that's funny.
Yeah. Well, Sal, I've enjoyed talking to you today. So I'm gonna let you go, but the interview will probably be up in the next week or two. I'll let you know when it gets up, and you can post it on all your sites, tell all your friends, and
okay.
And when you are ready to drop new music, feel free to let me know, and we can do it again, because I really enjoyed talking to you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.